it was just like regular stuff to walk down 33rd Street in that block and hear Coltrane practicing, because he was up on the top floor and like an attic or something in the floor, because he had the whole floor because he had bought his mom that building. And I think he was playing with Miles Davis at the time, and just any given time, especially in the summertime, you can sit out there across the street in the park area, right across his house was on this side of the street, and the park started on the other side of the street. We can just listen to Train practice, man, running scales and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
So at that point, were you friendly with Train? I mean, did you guys talk about music at all? No,
I never really spoke to Coltrane. Spoke to him until one time at this club called Showboat in Philly, and I spoke to him once. That was the first time I had the nerve to speak to him, because not only did I speak to him, but I asked him could I sit in and play with the band. And he had just put that band together. This is like in 1960, early 60, 61 or something.
So this is it Steve Kuhn or McCoy Tyner on piano at this point?
No. That was Reggie was playing with him. No, wait a minute.
Steve Davis. He played
I think it was Steve Davis. Steve Davis and
was the first bass player.
Yeah, Steve Davis and McCoy and
Alvin was on the gig. Okay.
Yeah. And that was the first time that I really spoke to him about playing with him. But I wasn't in no shape to play. I had just drank a little too much wine and did a little too much of everything else, and I had got my nerve up to ask him to play, because in those days, man, to ask somebody to play at that level that they were playing with was like ridiculous, you know. But I thought that I could do that. But that was more or less Thunderbird talking than Rashied Ali. So he just told me straight up, man. He said, you know, Rashied, he said, man, I think maybe you should just, you know, it's time for you to get out of Philadelphia, man, because the kind of music you want to play, you ain't gonna be able to do that here. And so that sort of you know, she sort of gave me the incentive to move to New York, and I did about a year later after that.
You'd already toured with Sonny Rollins at that point, right? I mean, you
No, man, that's a myth. I don't know where they get this from, man. I never toured with Sonny Rollins. I mean, I played with
Sonny, right?
I played with Sonny Rollins. Yeah, I played with him. I played with Sonny. I played a couple concerts here in the States. I played at the Village Vanguard with him.
Right.
I played at different places with Sonny, but I never went on tour. They got me all in Japan with Sonny Rollins and everything, and some people got me playing trumpet with Sonny Rollins. I don't know where that came from. I don't have
I read it somewhere too. I don't know where. I'm not sure where the source is.
Yeah, but no. In fact,
well, that's why it pays to be alive.
You know, in fact, actually, when the first gig I got with Sonny Rollins, he called Train and asked him, was I available to work? That was weird. I was working with Train at the workshop in Boston, and Sonny Rollins called John, and they called each other Mr. Rollins, Mr. Coltrane, Mr. And he asked John, would it be okay if I worked with him, while he was off or something. So John said, Sonny Rollins would like to speak to you, right? He said, he wants to know if he can work with him. I said, sure, I can. If you're not doing anything, if you're not doing anything, sure, I don't mind. So that's how, actually, I got to Sonny Rollins through Coltrane as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're just tuning in now, you're listening to a live interview on the John Coltrane Festival with Rashied Ali and Sonny Fortune, two big supporters of everything Coltrane. And my name is Carlos Case. I'll be with you for a little while. This afternoon is it's a special program. It's an interview segment, and it's a breakaway from the chronology that you hear a lot of the time during the day here, and it's a chance to look in depth at certain specific aspects of Coltrane's career and his genius and even his personality, which was one of my questions I had with Sonny Fortune just a minute ago before we went on air. We were talking a little bit about Train and how you guys knew Train, and you're saying you used to talk with him a lot about music stuff, about reeds and mouthpieces and things like that. Right? You had
well, I used to just try to strike up a conversation, and in doing so, I mean, he was Coltrane was. I found Coltrane to be a very open individual, no pretension, no paranoia or anything. And so by kind of just, I remember the first time I talked to him about reeds. I talked to him about mouthpiece. And so he told me that he was dissatisfied with what he had. That he said that he was okay, and he had a period where he was feeling frustrated, and so he let a guy in San Francisco work on his mouthpiece. And he said that he asked Paul Chambers about it, and Paul said there wasn't nothing wrong with what your old mouthpiece. So I started to say, but I felt like I don't know nothing. I can't say anything. I started to say to him, well, couldn't it have been maybe your reeds? But by this time, he was talking to me after the fact. He said that he had this guy in San Francisco work on his mouthpiece, and the guy kind of altered his mouthpiece to where it was never the same. And he was having a lot of trouble, and he was telling me that he had somebody, I think the guy at Autolink, make a mouthpiece out of German tank metal, after all of this, he still wasn't satisfied, and I'm not sure if he said this to me or not at the end of all of his frustration, because I got the impression from that conversation that he was really frustrated. And I don't know if it was something he said or it was the thought that I just kind of carried over. And that was, maybe I should have considered the reeds being the problem. But that was the first time I talked to him. And I was surprised how revealing he was in terms of. But when I used to listen to him, I mean, every time he came to town, I never heard. It didn't sound like he was having problems to me.
Well, John used to come to work. He used to come to work for sometimes. I've seen with as many as 3 saxophones at once, tenor saxophones, always one soprano. But he had a lot of times he would have two tenors and a soprano. I've seen him once with 3, and then he would have this big cigar box full of mouthpieces and reeds, and he would go through all those, play all 2 horns in the dressing room, and most of the time he would take the same horn he's been using all the time. But he would just go through those different changes a lot. You know?